Hi everybody, this is Beach Cricket, and today's video is going to be about why and how did I start my journey living in a vehicle, going on the road and traveling. A lot of you have been watching me for the last couple of years, so you know that I had a 1998 Dodge Ram van. Her name was Cinnamon Girl, and I traveled with her for 2 years. But why did I do that? The reason is very simple. I wanted to have adventures. I wanted to be financially a lot freer. I wanted to have the mobility of just being able to do all that. And so I decided to go look around on YouTube and see what kind of things are going on out there about people living in RVs. I had no idea people were really living in vans and things and everything else. So I got a really pleasant surprise when I found out that this alternate lifestyle involved many different types of rigs. And so I had to figure out what would work for me. And I looked around at all of the car dealerships and car lots and Craigslist. I just bombarded myself with all of that and tried to get as much information as I possibly could on YouTube, which was huge. So that's why, one of the reasons why I do this. I want to share it back so that all of you will have a simpler time than I did when I got out there and tried to learn all this. So I try to share everything that I do, good or bad, so that you can learn from it. And it's not easy getting out here and living this lifestyle. I don't want to ever mislead you to think that this is, rose-colored glasses, woo, just la 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 la. No. It is at times, but it's life. You're out here and most of us are alone. And the trend nowadays is a lot of women are out there alone. And many have never really lived in a vehicle before, let alone by themselves. And so it's a first for a lot of these women. And it was for me. I was used to being independent, and I used to be a retail store manager and open stores across the USA. So, that wasn't a biggie for me. I knew that I could travel, and I always traveled as a child because my dad was in the Navy. I loved it, so it bit me young on the travel. I just wanted to get out there and do it. And then in school, all those beautiful national park movies that they used to show us, I want to go there, I want to go there, I want to go there. So by the time I knew that I was serious about retiring early at 62, it was about 5 years before I turned 62, I started doing all this investigation and learning about this lifestyle so that I could get out there and live my life the way I wanted to and have this freedom and this sense of adventure. My girl's outside in their little dog pen while I'm trying to videotape. So if they bark every now and then, I'm sorry. Please excuse them. They're just themselves. Well, anyway, so the search was on, and I decided the fit for me was going to be a van. And a lot of you know that was Cinnamon Girl. She was a 1998 Dodge Ram van, and she was a high top. And the first year I went out with no modifications to her at all. I just put some stuff in there, and that was just the journey. It was to find what worked for me, because you get into these vehicles, and a lot of times, even in RVs, I hear them all the time. I wish they had put this over here and that over there, and I don't really like how my kitchen is set up, this kind of thing. Well, the advantage to custom building your own is doing those things. But see, you don't know until you get out there and experience it every day and learn what works for you. Because something might work out perfect for me the way I have it set up, but it might not work out for you, so you have to learn that. I really quickly realized, because I had downsized so much stuff, and here I am trying to put what I thought was my minimal simplicity of items in my van to start my journey. They wouldn't go in there, so I had to downsize more. And the key to this lifestyle is if you do things simply, you have less things to worry about. It really de-stresses and simplifies your life a lot. And I started noticing that when I was downsizing in my house. You know, I would take something and sell it or give it away, and things were going out the door, and I was like, woohoo! And I'd come home and I'd go, oh, I don't have to clean that wall of pictures. I don't have to dust this. I don't have to do that. Ooh, my time is becoming more my time because I'm being free of this stuff. I learned that really quickly. And so then it was another lesson altogether, though, getting into the van, because van space is really limited. You have usually generally about 110 square feet in a van. And that's really small, especially when you start putting stuff in there. It's probably less than that. But anyway, so you learn again how to live even more simply. So that's what I did. And it was great lessons. You know, this journey teaches you every day. There's always something to learn, and you learn vast amount of things to make your life easy or harder. You know, it's your choice. And once I got on the road with Cinnamon Girl, I enjoyed the adventure of learning how to financially take care of my money, because that was the big thing first. Because I had to realize I was only living on Social Security. At first I did have a nest egg, which didn't last that long because things happen. You know, and a lot of you watch my videos, you know the kind of things I'm talking about. I had several breakdowns. I had to get things fixed. She was a 1998, you know, so why did I think that she would be fine forever? She's not. Everything in life, even us, you know, we break down. There are things that go wrong. It's just be aware that you should always be checking things on your rig, always know that you should be setting aside money every week for a slush fund in case anything happens. That's really key. But anyway, so I got out there and I started learning every day. It was such a joy, though. Some were painful things. Some were just joyous beyond joyous things. Seeing all the national parks and the places that I always dreamed of going. Visiting relatives I hadn't seen for years. Old schoolmates. I mean, I did it all. And finally, when Cinnamon Girl took her last turn around the corner there, and her wheel bearings went out, and I lost her. It was in an accident, and she got totaled out. I had put 110,000 miles on her. And that was just wonderful, because that was 48 states that I got. So she gave her life. And she was a good fit for me, even though I had several things all along the way in those 10 years that I had to keep maintaining. That's just life. That's just the way it is. You maintenance yourself. So, I mean, that's just practicality. But you got to think about that kind of thing when you're getting out here and you're doing this lifestyle. You've got to allocate money for those periods of times where, you know, mishaps are going to happen. So, from there, you learn a lot. You learn if you can be alone. You learn if you're strong. You learn if when a mishap happens, if you break down emotionally, you can't handle it. If you have health issues, you have to learn how you're going to go through all that. I went through all that. And I was surprised at how strong that I was. I mean, I knew I was a toughie, but I really had some things that would shake most people. They would just not really want to go through those sort of things. So I didn't want to go through those things, but I did. I had no choice. But you see what you're made of is what I mean. And so this is something to contemplate before you start this lifestyle too. I did think about that because I watched many videos on YouTube beforehand, and other people and their agendas, what happened and stuff. I'm like, okay, now how would I handle that and this and that? So I was mentally prepared for it. I thought I was financially prepared for it. I should have had another $5,000, I think, in my reservoir when I started out. But nonetheless, I did make it through it. I got 110,000 miles off of Cinnamon Girl, and now I'm in this shuttle bus, and I'm dealing with a whole new aspect of life. But that is really the choices that you have to make for yourself. There is just so many variables that you've got to look at once you get out on the road. People are going to look at you weird. I was not ready for this one. I was not ready to experience people looking at me weird and looking at me like I'm homeless. And I had several people at different various times ask me if I was homeless, you know, and I mean, like, no, I'm just traveling, you know. But it kind of shook me up because I'd never really ever experienced being looked down on, and you know, just be prepared. I mean, there's, you know, I mean, not everybody's gonna like you, not everybody's gonna understand, and all that kind of stuff. But that's part of this journey in this life. To increase your space in a van, if that's what you're gonna go with, I would suggest getting a cargo trailer, little unit up top, so that you can increase your storage capacity, because that's huge. I wish I had done that when I first started out, because it would have been a lot easier, because I started off with too much stuff. I could have at least put some of it up there until I, you know, got around to dealing with it, but I didn't. Let's see. Everybody knows about the plastic storage bins inside. I did do that. It did help in the organization, you know, to get things where they needed to be, and I could find them. I got to tell you a quick story about my first mishap on organization. It was my first time out. I wanted, it was cold because I left in December. I wanted to warm up a nice can of good soup, hearty soup. I was just in the mood for that. And I couldn't find a can opener. I could not find my can opener. I tore my van apart, and it was stuffed, you know, so it was very difficult to try to find this little needle in a haystack. So, long story short, I had to end up buying another one until I got myself organized with my storage bins. So, or that's one thing I would do going out first. Make sure you are organized. If you can do storage bins, do that, because that's one thing that I really had a problem with. Later on, after the first year, because I traveled in her to kind of feel her out and see how I would maneuver her, I did have her custom built on the inside. That takes more time and money, and you've got to plan all that stuff out and budget it. So I had a bed built in, had a little kitchen built in, that kind of stuff, and then got solar installed. You take baby steps if you can't afford it and you want to get out there quickly. I was so gung-ho of getting out there that, you know, I just wanted to get out there and do it raw and see what it was all about and see if I could, you know, adjust to just that. And then once I had all these amenities in Cinnamon Girl, I was like, oh my gosh, this is comfort zone. So, you know, I got almost another year out of her after that. And it was kind of sad when the bearings went out and she was totaled. But, you know, I enjoyed her more because I knew what I wanted inside the van and what I needed to make me comfortable. And so that custom built was really good. You learn these things along. It's always a learning curve for you. Okay? And a lot of people are like, have asked me through these last 2 years, aren't you afraid? You're a single girl out here and all this kind of stuff. Aren't you afraid to be out there doing all this, traveling all over the United States? There were times that I might have felt uneasy, but I've always been kind of street smart. I always watch my surroundings, and I learned a lot through my management courses and stuff that I took, especially about that. And you learn a lot of things about people. And so I always watch my surroundings, look around everywhere I'm going. If I feel uneasy about a situation, I just simply get back in the rig and go. I also do perimeter checks around my rig every time I go to make sure that there's not a flat tire, you know, something hanging loose, whatever. These things are key things to your survival of being out here alone. And I used to have a little thing that I did when I went to campsites. I would park my rig kind of a little off from everyone else and watch them a couple of days, just to watch them and see how they were. I mean, I'd be in and out of my rig, but I'd be far apart, but I wouldn't interact with anyone until I felt like they were okay to hang out with. I didn't want to take the risk of being in a situation that I didn't feel comfortable with, so I just kind of watched them a little bit. That's just one of the things that I do to make myself feel comfortable. Because I like being an adventurer, and I like getting out there, and I like taking chances, but I'm also smart about it too. So, you know, once you put yourself into these situations out of your comfort zone, you learn from them. You have more adventures. You have a new dynamic to your life, trying out new things that you've never experienced before. So I encourage that, because I learned a lot of that through this, you know, this past 2 years. So it was great for me on that. I just learned amazing amount of things that I would have never ever experienced, you know, if I wasn't doing this lifestyle. And you have to learn to go with the flow. I cannot tell you how key this is. If your rig breaks down, if you're sick, if, you know, you're in a situation that just does make you uncomfortable, you've got to learn how to not let it overtake you with fear and anxiety and, you know, make you feel just like you have no way out, or let it beat you. Because there were several times when I broke down that I thought, I cannot believe I didn't have a meltdown. You know, I took it tough and wrote it out. And every time that a situation like that happened, and I would just say, okay, it's going to be all right. Everything's going to work out. I know it is. Don't let this get you upset. Just be calm, because being upset's not going to help the situation. You got to have your head on straight, and you got to, you know, deal with the situation at hand. So I did, and that's one thing I learned a lot these last 2 years. So the challenges were where to sleep at, you know, where you're going to park at, where you're going to go potty at, let's see, where you're going to go eat at. And a lot of the vans that a lot of people start off with they don't have the high top. So you're going to have to learn to live not standing up. And that's a hard one for a lot of people. They're like, darn, I can't get my jeans on, you know. And so it is tricky. I had a high top, but she wasn't where I could just walk all the way through her. There was only really one spot up at the top near the driving area where I could fully stand up. Otherwise, I had to bend down with my knees a little bit to walk through. But I only had this little narrow strip, so it wasn't like I had a lot of space to walk anyway. But that's one of the biggies too. Let's see. I had a few notes down here just so I'd remember. Let's see. Okay. Most people would get a used van when they first start out because of the financial. They really are just trying to go as inexpensively as they can. I highly recommend getting something a little newer if you can at all possibly do that, like around the $10,000 range. And then put some of your amenities in there, you know, like solar, or if you want a bed, or if you want, you know, different things to make yourself a little bit easier on the living on the inside. So you could spend $12,000 on setting it up at first, which I didn't do that, because I had my idea of what I wanted to experience. I wanted to experience it raw, and then make my choices. But hindsight, I don't know. I guess it was good for me, but it seems like it would be easier if you had some kind of modified setup a little bit and had some more organization storage in there so you wouldn't go nuts. But doing that enables you to start out with a newer van and have a reserve of cash flow starting out too, and network on some of the Facebook groups so that you can see how everybody's living, what they're doing. And Bob Wells, Cheap RV Living is a great format for knowing so many different avenues of places to go, things to do, what to do, all that. I highly recommend him. But it's just really crucial to at least give yourself a break on a newer rig if you can at all possibly do that, because it's going to break down if it wasn't maintenance properly. And a lot of these aren't. They're just run down till somebody wants to get rid of them. And you don't really want to start out that way. I did a lot of fixing up on mine before I started out. And I spent a lot of money on her. And I kept spending money on her. So if I had gotten a van that had been a little bit younger, newer, I think I wouldn't have had as much trouble. But, it is what it is. You learn from what you do. But just, my perspective on things, that's how I look at it now. I would have changed that. But, things happen. It's just like with me now in Shuttle Babe. I lost Cinnamon Girl because the wheel bearings went out and I was stranded, and I had to go through all the logistics of the insurance company to get money and all this stuff. And then I had subscribers helping me out, sending me money, which I truly appreciate, or I would not have this lovely home right now. But I am learning a new rig. This is a whole new dynamic for me. The freedom aspect that I so loved in Cinnamon Girl is not quite the same here. I have so much space, and it feels like a lovely studio in here. I am so grateful and so blessed for it, and I really, truly appreciate having her. But that's another thing that you have to think of. If you're going to go with an RV or something bigger than a van, you're going to have to think about that. If they have dualies, the mechanics of it. I'm learning on this one. This is a 1989 Ford shuttle bus. It was a church bus, so it was maintenance, and it is diesel. So I am learning a lot of things that I've never known before. And I used to do that with Cinnamon Girl. I used to look up things on YouTube to learn how to maintenance her. And I'd crawl underneath her, and I'd clean her, and I'd check hoses, and I'd check just different things to make sure that they were not frayed or, undone or whatever. And that helped me out an awful lot. Well, I've done it a couple times with her already. And I'm learning every week. I go on YouTube and I try to pick a specific thing, and I learn something new about my rig. And that way I'll feel much more comfortable. Because right now I want to save money, but I also want to know my rig. So I'm going to learn as much as possible on that before I, go on the road like a long trip. I will be making short trips, I'm sure. But anyway, these are some of the things and reasons why I chose this lifestyle. I hope it's given you some food for thought as well. It's only to help you. I really want people to know that it's not an easy life. It can be a most exciting, adventuresome, just amazing experience because you're making yourself go out and do things with a new viewpoint, a new eye. A lot of it is out of your comfort zone, and you are experiencing life in another dynamic that makes it, joyous. To your liking, whatever you like, you're going to go choose the things that you enjoy and you like and you want to see. And that's what I've done. And I am so thrilled that I have done this. I want to continue doing this because it's fun. I chose this lifestyle because of the financial freedom, the mobility, and just the adventures. So it's really helped me an awful lot to be able to decide how I want to spend my money, my time, and my retirement. I just could not fathom me working where I lived before. I would have to work till I died to keep on going and to keep that place being paid for like it was. I mean, there was no way out. It was just a consistent thing. And so I couldn't see myself being, you know, set up that way and go out that way. I wanted to be able to have more joy and more adventures in my life before, you know, it's my time's up. So anyway, that's the reason why I did this and why I'm doing this and why I still am doing this. But I just want you to know that you really have to look at these things on your personal level for your comfort zone to make it you. So anyway, beach cricket out. See you guys in the next video, and I hope that helped a lot of you. All right, bye-bye.